Hello, my name is John Horton. I'm the senior coxswain on board the Delta Lifeboat. I'd like to welcome you on board, and we will give you a tour of the vessel. I hope you enjoy it. The Delta Lifeboat is moored in Ladner Harbour in the commercial fishing harbour. We work very closely with the city of Delta, especially with the fire department, police and ambulance. Delta Lifeboat was originally built in Pearl Harbour during the Second World War by the US Navy. We understand that it served on 2 aircraft carriers as an admiral's barge. An admiral's barge is used to take the admiral ashore when the vessel's at anchor. We believe that Admiral Nimitz did have some connection with this vessel. The vessel is built of wood, and it's mahogany above the waterline and fir below. Of course, it was built during the war, so it was built with lumber that was available at the time. But some of the mahogany has lasted, all these years, and we are now having to replace some planks occasionally. It's getting to that stage. This year we replaced 3 planks in the top sides because they were showing a little bit of rot. That was the big job. There was also a little bit of rot found at the base of the wheelhouse. We did rebuild that part, so that's all good now. It's 52 feet long. It is powered by a single GM diesel engine, which gives her a maximum speed of 10 knots. We do have a very long ability to stay at sea. We can actually travel 1,000 miles without refueling. It pokes actually 157 horsepower. When we put the engine in brand new a number of years ago, it was actually pulling 197 horsepower. But the gentleman that put the engine in said that there was power there that we would not be able to use. And so he put new injectors in and reduced the horsepower to 157, which is actually perfect. It's we burn 5 gallons an hour at 10 knots. If we come down to about 9 knots, then we're burning about 4.5 gallons an hour. So it's very economical. So when we're on patrol, we carry obviously a crew, and we have usually between 5 and 7, depending on what our operating parameters are for that particular event. So we eat and sleep on board, of course, and when we're at sea, we will be conducting 24-hour watches, which is the most efficient way of running the ship, and obviously we're on call at any time. Well, being a relatively small vessel, everybody has to be at a multitask. So things like steering, navigation, radio work, first aid, lookouts, all that sort of thing, we actually rotate. So we actually change positions every half an hour. The reason for that is to keep people fresh, especially our lookouts who are up on the bridge.
Kayaker at 12 o'clock.
Very good, thank you.
Midship steer 170.
Midship steer 170.
As far as our search and rescue capabilities go, of course, it's a great search platform first. We can have a lot of lookouts in the search. We've got big searchlights that can help at night. And we can stay out there for a very long time. We can also pick up a lot of survivors if we have to. We could probably get close to 100 people on here. It's been proven in the UK that how many people you can actually get on a lifeboat. Like one of our other boats, it did a rescue in the English Channel, and they brought in 105 people on a 47-foot lifeboat. So you can get them on when you have to. It proves to be a very good towboat. One time I had 3 fishing vessels in tow, and one of them was almost submerged at the time. So we had one tied up on either side of us and another one astern, towing them into Steveston, which was quite exciting. We have many ways of passing a line, depending on, of course, where the vessel is. If he's out in open water, say out in the middle of the Gulf here, of course we can go fairly close even in rough weather. We have systems of getting close. Of course, if they're on the rocks or on a sandbar or something like that, then we have other means. We have a gun line which we can throw, and that will go about 200 feet. The gun line will be fired over to the vessel, and when they retrieve it, it's tied onto the tow line, and they can pull that over. The other means we have, of course, is we have an 11-foot rigid hull inflatable boat, which we also use for recovering people out of the water. Being a high-sided vessel, it's not easy to get somebody on board, especially if they're hypothermic or unconscious. And so we use that rib. We drop the rib, and 2 people go over in the rib, and they would recover the person and bring him back to the vessel, and then he's hoisted up on board. We can also use the rib for actually taking the tow line over to a vessel. If he's in shallow water, that vessel can operate in about 9 inches of water, so he can get fairly close to a vessel and pass the tow line over.
Out more. Okay.
Coxswain's on board.
Cox on board. Gate closed.
Coxswain's on board.
Rib up.
So this is our main helm position. This is where the vessel is steered from. We have our engine controls here, starter button there. We have our steering compass here, and we also have an autopilot on board for when we're on long transits. And we have an automatic signal system for our horn. So, for instance, in foggy weather, we can set that, and it'll go off every 2 minutes on its own. All our main controls are here for our anchor. As quick as you can. And a clear view here. In heavy weather, if we're taking green water over the bow, you can't see out of the windows. 2 sheets of glass. The outer sheet of glass is actually spinning at 1500 RPM, and so when the water hits it, it's just thrown off. Up here we have the voice pipe which goes to the bridge, so if a lookout sights something that is going to endanger the vessel, he can report to the man at the helm. On the port side we have our main ARPA radar. We can plot up to 10 moving targets at one given time. It will give us all the information we need to know about the vessel, his speed, his course, his closest point of approach, and time to closest point of approach. So this is our main anti-collision radar. Up here we have the depth sounder, and we have a Raymarine chart plotter. This is merely for a reference for the person that is on the radar. He's got a cross-reference between where we are without having to go to the chart room. We have a radio here. We also have another one which is over the helm. Over here we have our flag locker. We have a full NATO set of flags. If we are exercising or operating with the Navy or Coast Guards, we can signal by flag as well. Obviously we have binoculars all over the place. So this is our main navigation binnacle, and we can take bearings with this on prominent pieces of land or buoys or whatever you want to take a bearing on. Also anti-collision. If we take a bearing on another vessel, it'll tell us over a couple of minutes whether we're on the collision course or not. So this is the main navigator's tool here. It's got a light inside, so we can use it at night, and we can change it from white to red for nighttime. as we can with all our lights. All the lights in the ship, they're either red at night or white in the daytime. Okay, this is the main navigation area. A large chart table where we have all our charts. These drawers are full of our charts. We have a chart plotter here. We have a 36-mile radar here, and because it's shown here in the north up situation, what you see here is what you see here. We have 2 VHF radios. So we've actually got, so the total is 4 VHF radios here plus portables. We've got a Class A AIS, and that shows us where other vessels equipped with AIS are. Our main GPS is here. We have other GPSs as well that are linked to things like the radars and to some of the radios and other equipment. That's the main kit that we have here. We also have the voice pipe here that goes to the bridge. So again, we can talk to our lookouts and keep them informed of what's going on. There's also a lot of paperwork we have to do. We have our logbook, which you can see this one's getting rather full, and reporting forms. We're always having to keep the paperwork up to snuff. Underneath we have all our medical equipment down here, all in jump bags. There's a lot of equipment in there. We have oxygen. We've got three oxygen kits here, and we obviously have a lot of firefighting equipment, far more than we actually need for the vessel. Over here we have what we call our boat's bag. In here we have a small first aid kit, we have a mask, we have flares, we have a number of other things in here, and this goes with the rib. When the rib goes away, they take this with them, and it gives them a certain amount of equipment that should they need it to assist somebody. Over here you will see that we've got 2 more extinguishers. We have this damage control locker that came. This actually came from Fish Safe that we operate very, very carefully with. And this is an emergency kit. We can pass this over to a vessel that is taking on water. They can use the bucket as a bailer, but inside there are all sorts of various tools that they can just. There's tools, there's lights, there's stuff that they can stuff into a hole and things like that. So we can pass this over to a vessel that is taking on water. So this is the forecastle. We have all our electrical panels here, both for the 110 shore power and also for all the ship's power. So this is where everything is monitored here. We have bunks on the port and starboard side. We have drawers underneath for personal gear, and lockers here which have drawers in for spare parts. Up here we have lockers for gear, both port and starboard. This is most of this is wet gear in here. We have an escape in the bow. We have our cable locker. We have over 700 feet of chain in the cable locker, so we can anchor in pretty deep water. Okay, down into the engine room. This whole floor area can be lifted up, so if we have to get the engine out for any reason, we can open up this whole deck head here, and the engine can be lifted right out of the boat. Okay, we're down in the engine room now. This is a 671 Detroit diesel. It's a perfect engine for this boat. Both the power to weight ratio is absolutely superb, absolutely perfect. You will notice that these copper pipes here, they go down to bilge coolers, so we don't draw any raw water through the engine at all. It's all fresh water. Fuel tanks, port and starboard. We carry 1,400 litres in each tank. All our filters are back here behind me. Back here we have our main manifold for controlling which tank we're burning from, and so we can transfer fuel or move it around as we want. Our main big filter here, and then there are other filters as it goes into the engine. You can get at everything in here. It's a very easy engine to work on, and like I said, you can get at all of it, so that's just wonderful. This is the water-cooled muffler, which was put in, which actually works very, very efficiently. So the faster we go, the quieter it is, because you're pumping more water through it. This is a raw water pump. That's the only reason this water is here is because it's pumped through the exhaust system. It does not go through the engine. We also have this standpipe here. We can actually put a hose on here and open this up, and we use the same raw water. We can take it up to the forecastle through a hose pipe and wash down the anchor or something like that if we have to. The forward bulkhead, you will see that we've got all of our electrical. We've got our battery systems on both sides. Ship's power is on the port side, and we have the starting batteries on the starboard side. Ship's bell. Now we're going into the main accommodation and crew area. This area here is, of course, where everybody eats, and there's a lot of sleeping done down here as well. We have a large fridge and deep freeze. We can carry a lot of food in there. This bunk here, underneath this bunk, is great space for stowing a lot of fresh food. All comes down in cardboard boxes, and we can put a lot of stuff underneath there. Also underneath these benches on the starboard side, likewise. Now, when it comes to sleeping, we have obviously there's a bunk there. This actually makes up as a double, and then we have a bunk there that rolls out and hangs on these hooks. It's a pipe cot. We have a hammock that swings down through the middle. The main cooking arrangements are is this big diesel stove. We have an oven. We can cook a very good roast dinner in there. In fact, we eat a lot of roast dinners on here because it's the easiest way of feeding 7 people. And then, of course, this is the main galley area here, where we can make tea or coffee. And in here we have our hot water tank. The hot water actually comes off the stove. You can see the pipes here that go into a coil. So we've always got hot water on board. And even when we're tied up like now alongside, the water is always, there's an immersion heater in there which will keep the water hot. So we've always got hot water, because we may need it for somebody who's injured or whatever, and for cleaning and domestic purposes. This becomes like your home, so we like to have it not too bare. So we have these paintings, copies of these paintings, which I did some years ago, and then we have crests that have been donated to the ship by various other ships and organisations. Certificates of gratitude and what have you. This bunk over here, if we have an injured person, this becomes our hospital or our first aid area. You will see we've got a first aid, a major first aid kit here with basic stuff in it. If it's something simple, we can deal with it here. But if we need more, then we go to the jump kits that are up in the wheelhouse. Down below here, we have our AED. This was donated to us last year by the Delta Fire charity. And it is exactly the same as the ones that they use in the ambulance and in the fire department. So it's when we're trained or when we're operating with them, it is exactly the same piece of kit. This is our main bathroom in here. We have a black water system on this head, wash basin and shower. And as I told you, we have lots of hot water, so you can have a very good shower in there. Access here into the tiller flat, that's where our water tanks are. We have 260 gallons of fresh water that we carry. Also our steering gear is down there. We can get up in there right up to keep that greased and maintained. Let's proceed on to the upper deck. Okay, here on the after deck we have, this is a very good working area, especially when we're laying out tows and things like that. The crew are very well protected. As you can see, they're right down into the vessel. We have all our towing equipment is on this reel here. We have 600 feet of tow line, and then we have 2 other 100-foot lines that we can use to make up a bridle. This is our day tank here, which feeds the stove down below, the diesel stove. On the sides here we can see we have lots of stowage space we've got additional pumps, more fire extinguishers and other equipment. All our shackles and that are all stowed up under there, and our fuel for our outboard engines and fire pumps are all stowed under there. There is a scupper under there so that if there should be any spillage, it immediately goes over the side. We have lockers in the stern here for our bosun's lockers on the starboard side. It's all our bosun's equipment, and we have firefighting equipment in the starboard locker, which is, for instance, all of our hoses and nozzles are all stowed under there. We have 2 davits here, which can be used for hoisting a boat up over the stern, or for lifting other equipment such as pumps. Any other heavy equipment, we can lift stuff on or off the vessel using those davits. So you see we've got very large fenders, because sometimes we have to go alongside a large seine boat or another larger vessel, maybe a 120 foot vessel. We need big fenders, especially in rough weather. Coming up onto the upper deck, this is our main bridge area. When we're underway, we always have lookouts up here, and they communicate down to the helm area or to the plot to these voice pipes. This is the other end of the voice pipes. We have our bell mounts here, so that if we're anchored in fog, we can ring the bell every 2 minutes. This main boom is used for lifting our rib or any other heavy equipment that we need over the side. You can see it's got a large purchase on it, and it comes to a motor here, to a winch here that we can hoist heavy loads. We can lift about 1.5 tons on that. Over here we have our main. This is our main fire pump. We put hoses on here, we run them to the forecastle. So we would fight a fire from the forecastle, being the least amount of vessel being exposed to the fire. We can also unship this. We can put it in the rib, or we can go alongside a vessel that needs to be pumped out, and we can also use this for pumping vessels out. These are the suction hoses that are stowed on the side of the vessel. Very useful pump, and it can pump a lot of water very quickly. We also have this pickup hook here. If we have smaller boats that have an eye on the bow and it's down low that we can't reach it, we can reach underneath, and we can put this line onto the end of our tow line, and we can tow them on that. Fire buckets, of course. We do carry a stretcher on board, and we also have a system that we use when we recover a person in the rib out of the water. We have this. We don't put the stretcher in the rib. We put this net in the rib. The person is rolled into it, and then we can, when they come alongside, using the boom, we can lift that person up inside the the net. It's very important when you're lifting a person up out of the water, especially if they're suffering from hypothermia. It's really important that you keep them horizontal. That's to stop cold blood rushing to the heart, which can kill them. This is absolutely a perfect system for that. They pull them out of the water horizontal, we have them in the rib horizontal, and we lift them horizontal. We would have the stretcher here in this position, and we would swing them inboard and put them into the stretcher. They can then be taken to a facility, obviously be met by an ambulance or something like that if need be, or they can be taken down below in the stretcher to our hospital area, our first aid area. Stowed here are all our heaving lines, all ready for immediate use. We have strops and other ropes that may be needed and can be used. So it's a handy place to keep them. And if you need a heaving line in a hurry, they're right there. Okay, we'll move up onto the forecastle. So up here we have our main anchor. As I said before, over 700 feet of chain, of cable. This is our jackstaff here with our house flag on, the CLI house flag. This is the escape hatch that we saw down below. And you'll notice that all of our deck gear is very heavy, much heavier than would be perhaps normal. But you have to remember that sometimes we're dealing with very heavy, like say a 90-foot sailboat or something like that. You need heavy deck gear. It can never be too strong. And so that's why all of our gear is really oversized. You'll also see that we have a main winch here. The gypsy on the bottom is for raising and lowering the anchor, and then we can also use this as a warping drum. We can actually use it to hoist the rubber boat. If something was to happen to that winch, we can now use this winch by leading the purchase forward here through a snatch block. We can take it onto there, and we can raise the boat using that one. You'll also notice that our mooring lines here are flaked down, ready for immediate use. In heavy weather, they will be taken off of here and stowed back aft so they don't get washed over the side. Because in heavy weather, we can have green water right up over the top of the wheelhouse. You'll notice that we've got two spare anchors here. Two larger anchors, depending on the type of bottom and the nature of the work. Sometimes we have to lay out a kedge anchor astern, and so we can use one of these. From this angle now, you can see that we've got spotlights, and we have a spotlight here that can be used by the man on the wheel if he needs it. We've got our 36-mile radar, and then we've got our 75-mile radar aerial, which is the one up on top. And you can see all the various aerials, radio aerials, AIS aerials, and GPS aerials. They're all up there on the top of the mast. We have a 6-man life raft on the roof there, on the coach roof. That's automatically deployed if we should get into any trouble. Because of the windows up there on the bridge, you can see that our lookouts are very well protected. For Vancouver Airport. We managed to get to him, and he had put the fire out, but now he was immobile. We got a tow line on him and started to tow him towards the river. Just as we were coming up to Sandheads, the lookouts advised me that the tow had parted. There was white water everywhere. I mean, this was a terrible, really bad night. They recovered the tow line and then informed me that they had the foredeck of the fishing vessel still tied to the end of the tow line. So what had happened is we had pulled the whole foredeck off the fishing vessel. The truth was it was rotten, and the tow it had come off. He is now adrift with a big hole in the bow, and he is drifting towards the lighthouse. And he would have gone underneath the lighthouse had we not managed to get there quick enough, and I could have kissed my deckhand, who threw the heaving line and in one go got the tow line back on board him. We then had to advise the the skipper of the fishing vessel, that the only way we could tow him, because he had nothing in the bow to secure the line to, was he had to secure it to his winch on the after end, and we towed him stern first into the river. And we managed to get him back up to Steveston mainly that way, and then get him docked. So that was a terrible night, probably one of the worst nights we had. And it was a question of having to think on your feet and change the way you were going to do things very, very rapidly. So it was a good lesson plan for everybody, and it had a successful outcome, but it could have gone the other way. I think in less than 3 or 4 minutes he would have been underneath the lighthouse, which would have been an absolute disaster, because the boat would have smashed up and the men would have been in the water, and we would have had a completely different scenario. Thank you for coming aboard the Delta Lifeboat. We hope you enjoyed this tour, and that you understand a little bit more about the vessel and how we operate and the facilities that we have. Of course, we're always looking for volunteers. If you are interested in either supporting us in some way or training to be a member of the crew, if you go to CanadianLifeboatInstitution.org, you will find us, and you can come up with all sorts of information about us and how to contact us. Of course, one of our biggest challenges is funding, because we are not funded by the federal government or the provincial government. We do receive a gaming grant most years, but it's not something we can guarantee, and therefore we are compelled to do a lot of major fundraising ourselves. And so if you have a will to support us or help run an event that might be able to raise some funds for us, we would greatly appreciate that. And so I put that out to you, that if you would like to support us, we'll be most grateful.